Uh-oh.
Alrighty. Ah, we're live. Adjust my camera here. All right.
Oh.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome, welcome, welcome to the Saturday Morning Mastermind. I'm Samantha Studebaker Carl coming at you from beautiful Southwest Georgia. I can't talk this morning. And I'm here with my good friend Sandy Root and Dan Smith, and I just wanted to welcome everybody. And if you're hanging out with us, go ahead and make a comment on the event page and just let us know who you are, where you're hanging out from, and I will just start with that. So let me jump over to our page here real quick. And I know we had a few people say they were gonna show up. But yeah, go ahead and comment on the page there. Let us know that you're here and that you can hear us and all that. So, okay, so anyway, I just introduced myself. Dan and Sandy, will you guys introduce yourselves?
Hey, good morning. Sandy Root here. Just before the live hangout, we were talking about the temperatures where we are, and I'm in Miami, and it's actually, nobody's going to like me when I say 79 degrees feels chilly, but after the heat wave of the summer, it's cooled off, so it feels a little chilly, but it's not really. So I'll shut up, okay? Looking forward to the conversation today.
Good morning, this is Dan Smith from Boise, Idaho, and we're having just beautiful fall weather here. So anyway, welcome to the call. Look forward to the discussion.
Oh my goodness, a blustery, cold 79 degrees. Oh, I love it. You know, that's so awesome because, of course, you know, we moved down here to Georgia so that we didn't have to be in the cold anymore either because we were up in Indiana, so it would be like really cold right now. But for us today, it's in the low 60s. It's supposed to be up in maybe the mid 70s, and this is like my perfect weather. If it just stayed like this all year round, that would just be so wonderful because I love it when it's cooler at night, you know. Then you have your windows open and it's comfortable, and I just wear my fuzzy hat, you know. And then during the day, it's nice and warm, and you can sit out in the sun, and it's just beautiful. So anyway, let me jump over the page and see who's hanging out with us. Jason, good morning. Why aren't you on with us, Jason? Good morning, Linda. Welcome, welcome, everybody. Okay. All right. So anyway, I posted the link in our Facebook chat, Jason. If you want to go ahead and jump on. I mean, if you're having computer problems, no problem. I understand. Okay, so let's get started here with this. Okay, so right now we are studying the book. You know what popped into my head was the news psycho-cybernetic. We've said that like 1,000 times on our hangout, but no, we're actually studying How to Win Friends and Influence People in the Digital Age by Dale Carnegie. And we're in chapter 2, and this chapter is about affirming the good in other people. And, you know, I had posted a little kind of pre-mastermind discussion in our community, which is the mindsetmasterycollective.com. That's our Google Plus community. And anyway, so I kind of posed some questions out there to folks. And so I want you guys to kind of think about these questions as we go forward into this chapter, because this chapter is all about you know, your interpersonal relationships, whether that's with your friends and your family or coworkers or just people out there in general, is that, you know, the folks that you come into contact with and you interact with, particularly, well, not particularly, but just in general, online, offline, in any situation, you know, it's important to focus on the things that are good versus focusing on the things that are bad. So that's kind of the core topic of this chapter. But let me just jump over to our pre-discussion because I want to kind of I posed some questions in here. So we'll just kind of start by discussing these questions. I think this is a good idea. Hopefully everybody has already read chapter 2 so that you've got a good idea of what it's about. But let's just start with question 1 that I posed. It was share an example of a time where you were experiencing conflict in your life and you were able to overcome it using the techniques from this chapter. And I'm going to go ahead and just throw it out there for Dan or Sandy if you guys want to jump in there and add your thoughts to that. And if you're out there hanging out on the event page, share share yours as well. That would be awesome. Share your experiences with us. Let's all just kind of dig in and see what we come up with this.
I'll jump in. You know, I ran a painting company for 26 years, and the words that a painter just absolutely shudders to hear is the words, "That's not the color I chose." And you know, people would pick a paint color based on a little tiny chip that's like 1 inch by 1 inch, and they think it's a beautiful color. And then they'd have me paint their house, and they'd come home and they would freak out, I guess, sometimes, put it mildly, and they'd kind of go off on me and say, "Hey, you got the wrong color there, Slick," you know. And it's, no, this is the color that you chose. And so, you know, it was a real challenge to, you know, my ability to deal with human beings, to you know, to reach a compromise, you know, to hold the little chip up there right next to the color that I'd painted the house and say, "No, see, the chip actually disappears. You just chose a color that you didn't think that it was going to be." And you know, that happened quite frequently, you know, over the years as a painter, to have to smooth over what on the surface appeared to be a bad situation. And you know, it really a tax to your patience and just the ability to deal with people, to you know, bring them around to the point where they did actually reach a point where they would admit, "Yeah, that is the color that I chose, and that you did things right." But yeah, that was a repeatedly, I mean, time after time after time, that happened over the years. You know, I'm not like every week or every day, but you know, maybe once every 2-3 months or something like that, where somebody pick a color and I'd paint the walls or paint an outside or whatever, and they didn't think that it matched the chip, and when you held the chip up there, it actually did. But just to, you know, to smooth out that human relationship with another human being, and you know, to resolve a conflict. So I'll throw it over to somebody else.
Yeah, this reminded me of recently. I was, you know, before I moved to Miami, I was staying with my mother, and you know, we hadn't spent a lot of time together in many years, like a long, stretched out amount of time. So it was, you know, we were running into some conflicts here and there and bumping into each other's like egos, and just things were not feeling comfortable for a few days there. And we were, you know, whenever we would talk, it would be us sort of criticizing each other in a way. And then I'm like, okay, you know, one day I just realized this isn't working, like this criticizing thing. So how can I change this and make this smoother for the next week or two that I'm going to be here? And once I really just turned it around and appreciated her for her, the way she is, and just spent time with her, and rather than looking wrong, and just appreciating the time together and sort of stepping back and just letting her, you know, express herself the way she wants, but not coming back in a reactive, critical way, it changed our relationship like 180 degrees in such a short amount of time, when I just appreciated her and took time to spend time with her. She just wanted me to be there and be spending time, not. And so when I just relaxed and let go of the past and the critic and the things that I saw were wrong and this and that, it was just so much better. And you know, she could feel the appreciation, and then she just reciprocated it back. So we were able to, you know, get through the next couple of weeks so much more harmoniously. So it's amazing how you can change something when you just appreciate somebody, because like the book says, people crave to be appreciated. And you know, I could see that that's all my mom wanted, was to just be appreciated. So it changed everything. So that was awesome. It for now.
Hey guys, sorry I'm a little late, having some technical difficulties this morning. Great points there,
Yeah,
Sandy.
no problem. Did you hear the question that I posed, everybody, as you were kind of coming on?
No, for some reason it pushed me over to the live broadcast, but it was, I don't know, it was looping. I couldn't really make out what you were saying.
Okay, no problem. Well, first of all, go ahead and introduce yourself. Welcome, welcome to the show. And we're talking about, of course, this chapter, and that and the first question that I posed to everybody to just kind of come up with is share an example of a time when you were experiencing conflict in your life and you were able to overcome it using the techniques from this chapter.
Oh boy, yeah. Oh well, there's quite a few, um, you know, times throughout my life where I had to kind of just
Go ahead,
stop
hey
and think.
Jason,
Yeah.
introduce yourself
I'm,
first and tell us where you're at.
I'm sorry. I'm Jason Roberts. I'm over here on the East Coast, Florida, near Tampa in St. Petersburg, Florida, and it's really great to be here, learning with you guys. Great to see you all, Dan and Sandy and Samantha. Looks like we're missing a few people today. We hope you guys are all well too. And thanks for everybody that's joining us today. I guess my best example um, would have been also speaking with a relative, actually. Emotions get kind of brought up and get in the way sometimes. But if we calm ourselves and just sort of take a moment to think, well, what is the other person looking for? What is the other person, what might we be displaying to them that's not giving us the reaction that we're expecting? Uh, I come across that sometimes where you might start interacting with someone and their mindset's just in a different frame of mind, so to speak, and you might have to pull them out of their world and into your world. And then sometimes that's not enough because they might be a little aggravated if they're pulled out of their world, to deal with you. But if you do throw in a little bit of, a little bit of encouragement or, gratitude their way, they, just sort of to let them know, hey, I'm not coming, I'm not trying to attack you. I'm just, I'm either concerned or I have a question. Well, that goes a long way to smooth things over. So um, I really appreciate your comments, Sandy. It's great to be here.
Thanks, Jason. Okay, so I have a couple people that commented on the page. Just wanted to just address everybody. Good morning, Marlene. I see you just showed up, or you probably showed up a little bit ago, but welcome. And Linda says it's 46 and raining. Ah, bummer. Where are you, Linda? I'd love to know where you're hanging out in the world. Okay, Marlene says a shift that happened for me when I made my declaration and then thought, does the affirmation or declaration truly is what I wanted? Wait a second, I got to reread that. A shift that happened for me was when I made my declaration and then thought, does the affirmation or declaration truly is what I wanted? What I found was to let go and feel the frequency or energy of the affirmation. I redefined it and then moved to being fulfilled in such an extraordinary way. That's very interesting, Marlene. I'm not following you exactly. I'm sorry. Maybe you could elaborate a little bit more of what you mean by that. I lost my train of thought. Oh, okay. So I was going to share an example from my life of a situation where I was having some pretty big conflict, and it was it was actually with my husband, and we went through a really rough patch a couple of years ago, and came pretty close to a divorce. And during that time, we were like at each other's throats. I mean, just like wanted to kill each other. I think literally. And so it got really, really bad. And when we kind of came to the conclusion that okay, we're going to work this thing out, it took some time for us to get past all of those hurt words that we shared against each other. And I had to really start remembering all of the things that I did love about him, and I really had to focus on those things, because if I'd have kept going down the road of all the things I was mad about, and all the things that we had said that were hurtful to each other, then we wouldn't be here today, not together. And, so it's only because of the fact that I was able to, look at the things that I love about him, and that, and focus on those things and only say things related to those things and put everything else out of my head. And so that's, it can be really, really powerful. So, I mean, if you're struggling to get along with somebody for whatever reason, no matter what it is, whether it is whether it's a spouse, whether it's a family member, whether it's a coworker, no matter who it is, I can tell you from experience that, no matter how bad it gets, is that if you just start focusing on the things that are good about that person, you can turn that relationship around like completely in the opposite direction and change it and make it good and wonderful again, or make it good and wonderful even if it has never been good and wonderful. So that's kind of that's my experience on that. And of course, I think that we've all had some level of experience in that situation with somebody in our lives, and maybe you can think back and find somebody in your life where maybe it's been a struggle. It's like my sister and I. There's always been a little bit of something there that, whatever reason, we're very much not alike in so many ways, and so that has, caused the little frustrations off and on throughout my life, and it's kind of funny how when it's your siblings, it's like you know all the worst things about them, and it's so hard to not focus on those things and really, so I know I know what it's like, and I think that it can be very difficult if you don't take the time to really focus on exactly what it is you want out of the relationship, and then decide to focus on those good things about the other person. Okay, so let's see here. I got the next question that I posed. Let me get over here to question 2. Okay, so share a situation where you believe the methods could have helped you resolve a conflict if you had known about these techniques. We've been in a situation where things didn't turn out good, and if you had known these things, maybe you would have been able to overcome that situation or make it better or whatever. Anybody have an example?
Ooh, I have one.
Okay, jump out.
I remembered a time in college. I was heading up the activities board, and I was sort of pushed into the position, and was just trying to do my best with it. And we got a new enrollment of students, and we brought in some new members to the activities board, and I was really trying to just conduct the meetings and give people the information they need, and then kind of give them tasks to do that would help out the group and get us moving in the right direction. And I had ended up having a conflict with one person who actually had influence over a few other members, and I had no idea where the conflict came up from, and it was more like they were their complaint was or her complaint was that she felt like she was just sitting there listening to me talk during the meetings, and I was I mean, but that was kind of my job, so I didn't understand that, and I didn't understand where she was coming from, and I tried to resolve it as best I could. I actually talked to her and the individuals separately and really worked with them as much as I could, but it just didn't seem to. There was something else. Maybe it seemed like there was something else that was a wedge between us and them, and they weren't really being forthright with it. So I think if I had some of these techniques and strategies, it definitely really would have helped me out, because I took my time to go talk to them, and I looking back, I think I was more I was more interested in the club, in well, the activities that we had to provide to all the students on campus and getting that done. I was under a little stress myself, and I wasn't thinking about, well, what is it that they want out of this? I was assuming they wanted to participate in the school's activities and help, promote the college, but I guess I don't know. I couldn't figure it out, and they weren't really willing to tell me. So, um, communication is really a huge part of just our daily tasks, whether it's in business or social life, and I don't know. I definitely feel that if I had some of these strategies back then, and they don't teach this in college, which is another discussion, but if I had some of these strategies to use, or maybe a checklist, I could have figured it out and maybe had a better experience, because I ended up having to do a lot of the stuff that a lot of the activities myself, and putting every meeting with the groups and the bands and the people we hired, and that was fine. I didn't mind doing it, but it it was like, okay, where are all these members? I thought they wanted to get involved, so. I guess I missed the target on that one, and I think this book definitely would help me out. It's frustrating when you're trying to work with someone and you can't quite get the answers you want to. So anything we can learn that'll help us communicate can be hugely advantageous.
You got something, Dan?
Yeah, I mean, there's like all these different thoughts that are going through my mind, and how much do you share and what do you share? It's just I've got a well, what I talk about my painting business a lot, because it was so much a part of my business. It defined who I was for so many years. I painted houses for 36 years, and I owned my own company for 26 years. And I did shut that down a few years ago, but so much of my life examples goes back to what I learned there. And when I actually shut that painting business down, I was so fried, mentally, emotionally, in every way that I existed at that time, that people became nothing more than a huge pain in the butt to me, putting it into really mild terms. And I reached a point where I practically hated people, just because of the stress and all the different situations that I did deal with for so many years in that business. And I reached a point where I had to actually make myself come to the point where I could appreciate people again, and to purposely go out of my way to be nice to people, to purposely go out of my way to give appreciation, to thank people for just small things. When you really stop and think about it, that if you're looking for something and you get the phone book out and you start making phone calls, which I do that frequently. I did it yesterday, and made a few calls, did some almost like detective work, trying to track something down that I was looking for. And that each one of those people that picks up that phone on the other end of the phone line, you have a choice. You can be demanding, you can be a jerk, and you can still get your questions answered, but you just made the other person on the other end of the phone have a lousy day because of you. Or you can make the choice to really honestly and sincerely appreciate people's time and tell them that, thank you so much, I appreciate your time, and actually mean it with a heart that is truly appreciative, is truly thankful that person took time out of their life and their day, even though it may have been in the business context. That's still a human being on the other end of that phone line. Or when you go to the grocery store and the person is checking out your groceries there for you, to honestly, sincerely thank that person for their time of checking you out and doing it efficiently. And just honestly, it was something that I had to I felt like I checked out of the human race for a period of time, and then I had to go back and remember just the small things that makes just the interactions that you have with another human being that it's like the grease in the machine that keeps the machine running well oiled and running smoothly. That we all have a choice every single day, whether we go to the grocery store, whether we go clothes shopping, whether we go get a cup of coffee at Starbucks, that person that's on the other end of the transaction there craves recognition, craves somebody to appreciate them for who they are. Doesn't matter what they look like, what color that they are, what language that they speak. Every single one of us as a human being honestly craves that recognition that they're a human being, that they have worth, that they deserve to be treated with appreciation. So I'll turn it over to somebody else.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think of something. I mean, I'm sure there's thousands of things in the past where I could have used these tools, and what came to mind was old roommate situations. I lived with roommates for years in the past, and a lot of times, with roommates, there's conflicts because we're different people, and just living with somebody else can always bring up some discomfort and conflict. And so I was remembering a few times where, certain situations would almost make me close down instead of being able to communicate with them about what I needed or what I required, or to know what they needed and required. And I would get passive aggressive a lot of times, and I think that if I knew these tools, rather than shutting down, I would be able to communicate in a better way, and appreciate what they were doing that was quote unquote good or right, and then that they could do that back, because I think a lot of times we would just end up butting heads and not know how to deal with it. And makes me think of one roommate I had. There were three of us in a place, and it was like the dead of winter, and that's one reason why I had to move, because I don't like winter, and I was depressed for like a week straight. So I just hid in my room, and it was like the last time I was depressed, actually. It was like just this long stretch of just days of depression, and he took it really personally, and I ended up just getting mad at him, and it sort of messed up our relationship in a way, because I wasn't able to just, I guess he took it personally, and I wasn't able to show him appreciation. I was just more getting mad back at him rather than giving him the attention that he wanted, even though, I had to go through my own thing and close down because that's what I needed. But maybe if I could have handled it a little bit better with some appreciation rather than just getting angry at him, it would have helped. So I think, in roommate situations, this stuff could probably help a lot. But I don't plan on doing that anymore. So if anybody else out there has roommates, you can try these tools and let me know how it goes.
That's awesome. That kind of reminds me of like living at home when brothers and sisters and that sort of thing. Because of course when I was young, there was four of us. I had two brothers and a sister, and there was always conflict. There was never not conflict. I mean, it just always seemed that way. But when I grew up and I actually was in the pet industry, I worked in a salon where we had there was seven or eight of us ladies that worked together, and in that situation we were all kind of like we were independent contractors. I don't know if you've ever heard about like a beauty salon where there's kind of like booth rental and everybody has kind of their own business. Well, that's how it was in our pet salon. Is we all kind of ran our own thing, except for we were all under one business name, and and so a lot of times we didn't agree with the way that one another would run things, or we didn't agree with the way someone would groom a pet or treat a customer or talk on the phone or whatever it was. It was all these just little random things that we wouldn't like about one another. And then there was also with the business owners, I had like this huge vision of what I thought that the business should be and all the potential I saw in it, and they didn't want to do any of it, and it was very frustrating to me, and so there was a lot of conflict because, of course, I had a different thought, a different opinion on how things should go than what they had, and I think that if I had known some of these techniques, that I could have, instead of focusing on all the things I thought were wrong with the business, if I'd have focused on what was right, because there was so many things that were right about it, things probably would have been a whole lot different. And but it ended up, because of all that conflict, that the whole thing kind of fell apart in a lot of different ways. I was managing that salon, and I wasn't in agreement with the owners, and because of that conflict, we kind of mutually parted ways in a not so pleasant way, And but I think that it's important to realize that you don't know everything, and it's great to get these books because we can learn very powerful techniques to do better in our interpersonal relationships, and what's funny to me is I had actually done a lot of studying back then on customer service and serving the customer in a way that was mutually beneficial to both me and the customer, and I was really good at communicating with customers, but for whatever reason I didn't think to use those same principles in my relationships with my coworkers. I mean, it's funny how that works, isn't it? But that was kind of my thought on that. Let me jump over here and see what everybody has to say. Okay, welcome, Rose. Glad to see you on here. Okay, Linda I think she was responding to something that I think you were responding to something that Dan was saying, but you said, I did that a while back with my son, and I used that with my son. It went better than I thought it would. Awesome. Oh, you're in Wisconsin. Yeah, I bet it's kind of chilly up there. Goodness. Okay. Let's see here. So let me jump over back to my questions here. Okay, so what was the most powerful lesson you learned from this chapter? And of course, there's a ton of things in here that I kind of outlined. I underlined a number of different parts of this chapter that I wanted to make sure that we covered some of these points. Do you want me to kind of read through a couple of if you guys have something specific that you want to share that you felt was the biggest lesson learned from this chapter, we can do that first, and then we can kind of just go through and discuss some of these different things that I underlined, or if you guys underlined something in the chapter or whatever. How you want to do it?
Yeah, one thing that I really got out of it, and something that I've been implementing since the first time I read this book, which was, what month are we in? I don't even know. Maybe like half a year ago I read this book. But at the the second to last page, it says, try leaving a friendly trail of little sparks of gratitude on your daily trips. You will be surprised how they will set small flames of friendship that will be rose beacons on your next visit. And this was something that I would implement throughout my days, or I do now. If I'm going to the store, or wherever I'm going, the customer service person, the cashier, a lot of times they're just there, and nobody's really acknowledging that there's a human here, and maybe I could say hello and have a conversation. So it's something that I do now. I show them appreciation by saying, hey, how you doing? And a lot of times they're shocked, like, oh wow, somebody's saying hi to me, So, and then it's like every time I go back to that store, it's like we're friends now, and they know me, and they're comfortable with me, and they smile, and otherwise they may just be there with their face just blank with no expression. And then, so I think it's important in our days to, wherever we're going, just even little blips of those things that we can do, whether it's holding the door for somebody, just saying hello to somebody, can change their day. And and then every time you're going to these places that you go to throughout your day, you're comfortable because you have a rapport with them, and it's just you go through your day smoother, and just everybody's happier all around. So I really love that last one of those, that quote that I read. Little sparks of gratitude on your daily trips.
I love that, Sandy. My whole, my kind of thought on that is for me personally, I always think of myself as being a ray of sunshine in somebody's day, and so when I think that way, I tend to act that way, and so that's kind of the same thing, right? What do you guys think?
I mentioned this a couple of weeks ago when I was on that. Off and on for years, I've studied a man who had one of the biggest network marketing or MLM companies or organizations that exist. He had over 1 million distributors, active distributors in his downline, and studying the way that he treated people and that he showed honest. He talked about other people in the meetings, the big meetings, but everything that came out of his mouth was good, and he called himself a good finder. And in studying, a lot of times not so much even what he said, but studying what he did, and just the way that he built people up, and people liked to be around him. Because he didn't criticize them. He only looked for the good points in their lives, and then he expanded on the good points. And one of the things that I felt that I learned from that was that really a leader draws other people out, and it's more important to I guess the person who's asking the questions is the person who's actually in control of the conversation. But a true leader isn't there to say, I don't believe you know who I am, so I'm going to take the next 45 minutes and tell you how great that I am. The leader is the person who's drawing the other person out and asking them questions, getting their input, and the thought that it's more important to just to draw the other person out I'm searching my memory banks here. It's more important. The leader seeks to understand and then to be understood. So it's more important to understand the other person's point of view, really to draw them out and ask them questions. And you can ask them questions and they can talk for a half an hour, 45 minutes and walk away, and you didn't say anything, but they'll say that person was a great conversationalist. Why? Because you were willing to take the time to listen to them and be interested in them. Seek first to be interested rather than to be interesting. So yeah, just really to put the other person first in life, and to draw them out and listen to them and be a good finder, to look for the good in other people, and expand on that. I'll turn it over to somebody else.
Yeah, Dan, that's some great points. Be a good finder, looking for the good in others. It touched me earlier when you were saying, you were, as a painter, you were kind of, you're fried from working all the time and maybe not getting the gratitude that you would have liked, and I can see that, a lot when people are dealing with workers and employees. But I like what and I guess my point there was, it can really be difficult when we've been beaten down, when when it's been a long time since anybody's said anything good about us, or when we've been stuck in our own mind and haven't been looking at the right stuff. It's hard to kind of extend ourselves any further to do that, but it's so worth it. It is so worth it, and I'm realizing that the law of reciprocity, I guess it is, where we do get what we give. That I think that the best examples of that that works so well in our social situations. Sometimes in business we don't always get what we give, but you know, when you're speaking with someone one-on-one, you get that feedback right away. And so I just want to say I really like what Samantha said about, you know, focusing on what is right, you know, and what you said with, you know, focusing on what is good in the world. And I think if we put that together, and we remind ourselves that sometimes we have to get out of our own mind and into the world of others. You know, don't walk around in our own in our own head all the time thinking about what is wrong. When we are in our own minds, our own heads, so to speak, you know, think about what is right, and then remember to flip that switch and snap out of it and get into the world of others, and when we're there, look for what is good in the world of others. And if we get in the habit of that, I think, you know, that can, we'll see the effects, we'll see the results, and you know, it's really great to see that, you know, see that influence not only on others, but the terrific feelings and you know, just amazement. It allows you to open up further. It's really, you know, for me, a starting point. I do sometimes, after I do that, I kind of get out of the habit and I notice it. So, you know, it's a daily kind of struggle for me to do that. It's not something that I normally, you know, over the years I've been beaten down myself, you know, because when friends weren't there for me, or, you know, going through difficult times and no one seemed to be around, that sort of thing. And you know, we have to pull ourselves out of that. There's, you know, if there's no one else to pull us out, we have to pull ourselves out. But if we look, again, if we look for what's right in our own situation, it's going to be a lot easier. And if we look for the good in the world and the world of others, you know, what we think, you know, it doesn't have to, you know, it needs to be genuine. So, you know, if you see someone and you don't like what they're wearing, don't compliment on that. But if you see something that you like about what they're doing or something, you know, give them a small compliment on that, and the effect can be huge. So try it out. Back to you, Samantha.
Sorry, I was trying to get the mute button to pop up there, or the unmute button, and you know, I like that. You know, Dan, when you brought up the fact that he calls himself the good finder, and you know, there's a little section here at the beginning of this chapter, not the very beginning, but the second page in the chapter, and it says the ancestor of every action is a thought. And if you think of yourself as, you know, the good finder, you think of yourself as the ray of sunshine, or that you're going to leave sparkles of joy and happiness everywhere that you go, then that is that the thought that is the, you know, the ancestor of an action, right? And so if you think of yourself in this way, then you'll act in that in an appropriate way with other people. And and then, whoa, I got mosquitoes trying to attack me. And so, one of the reasons why is that, of course, right in here it says we all have an innate, unquenchable desire to know we are valued, to know we matter, yet affirming this in each other is among the most challenging things to do in our day and age. And, you know, and then, of course, when you were talking about don't say something that you don't agree with, it goes on to say affirming the good in others should not, however, be confused with flattery. You know, it's be genuine. That's the thing. And I think that when you kind of think of yourself as a person who is genuine, and you think of yourself as a person who is looking for the good in others, then you are naturally going to find the good in others versus, you know, just trying to come up with some random nicety to say. Let's see, Linda's got something she posted over here. Okay, she says, I have been trying to put myself in the other person's shoes when someone is being argumentative to try and see where they're coming from. That is such a powerful thing, Linda, because, you know, and I think that it can help so much, particularly in relationships where arguments tend to come up very easily, or, you know, like in family relationships and friendships and siblings, and a lot of times in coworker situations, and anytime I think that we're close with other people, is that we tend to have these conflicts, or if we have to interact with them on a regular basis, there tends to be those conflicts because we're not all perfect. I mean, we're all different, and we all have different opinions and thoughts and feelings and desires and all of those things, and we have to recognize that in other people and allow for it. One of the most powerful things that I learned from this chapter, or not so much that I learned, but as it was kind of more of a reminder. I wrote this on the discussion page. I said the most important lesson learned from this chapter for me was really just a good reminder to remember that nobody is perfect. We all make mistakes. We all do the best we can from our point of view in the world. And we have to be tolerant of others and not focus on the mistakes they make, but focus and encourage the behaviors that help them become the best they can possibly be. And, I had a situation this week where, some people in our company did something that I kind of felt, I was really surprised that it happened, for one thing, and then another thing is I felt hurt and kind of betrayed by it. I was like, what the crap are these people thinking, And, if I had gone with my first reaction, that first feeling that popped up in me, I would have just been lashing out and very upset, but, this chapter was perfect for this week, actually, because it helped me remember that, we aren't all perfect. We do make mistakes, and we know that people are not intentionally trying to be destructive to other people, but sometimes it works that way, and you just have to remember that, and kind of remember the reasons why you like those people in the first place and what was good about them, and remind them of what is good about them too, because if you focus on all that negative baloney, then then that can cause some serious problems in your business relationships as well as your life relationships. I gotta grab my plug to plug my computer real quick, so somebody jump in here for a minute and say something.
I'll jump in on that one. I like this negative baloney term. No. I feel the same as Samantha. Like, this chapter was perfect for me to read last night because I felt the same as her with the situation in our business she was talking about. And, I was sort of at this borderline of, okay, do I express my feelings and how I feel betrayed and disappointed and hurt, or do I just hold it in? And then when I read this chapter, it sort of was like, oh, okay, I can deal with it in this way and appreciate this person, because I still do appreciate, and maybe at some point also express how I feel, because I think it's important that they do know that, because I don't want to hold it in either. But also to, during that expression, not just be like, rah, 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 like, you're wrong, you did this, but to, say how I'm feeling from that situation, and tell them what I do appreciate about them. So this chapter really was perfect. So yeah, in that case, like you said, Samantha, that's it for now.
Yeah, I feel the same. And and it's funny because this whole week has been kind of just remembering to focus on the good, and it's made a big difference for me, because I'm like, there are so many things that are good about those particular people, and I think that if we focus on reaffirming to them the things that we think are good, maybe that'll curb the decisions to do the things that aren't so good. But okay, so here in the chapter, so many good things in this chapter, but this kind of goes right along with it. It says, affirmation, in contrast to flattery, requires seeing someone well enough to sense what to affirm, knowing someone well enough to be aware of what really matters. And I think we've kind of touched on this a couple of different times, where we've each said, okay, we had this situation that we were frustrated with. If we had known these techniques, that'd be awesome. And to remember to look at things from that other person's point of view, because that's key right there, is to realize that that other person is coming from a completely different place than what we are. And like when Sandy was talking about her roommate, and how they had that conflict because he felt like he was that he was taking it personally, like somehow it's had something to do with him, even though Sandy is like having her own issues. And when we can recognize in other people that obviously they have all this other stuff going on in their life and we can't possibly know every single aspect of it, it's just to remember that. And that if we know them well enough, we can probably identify what it is that they actually want, if we can't get them to say exactly what it is. Because I think that's another thing, is a lot of times people they can't articulate what it is that they're truly feeling and what it is that they really want. They just, tend to lash out, which I think a lot of people do. And that's why this particular book is so important, it just kind of brings us to the moment and helps us to be more mindful of exactly what is going on in that interaction with other people. Anybody else have something they want to add on here? I mean, there's tons of stuff in this chapter. I can read another thing I underlined. Okay, let's see here. Okay, so this one says, do messages you send with your written words, your spoken words, your presence, tip the scales towards affirmation or aloofness? The more they lean towards affirmation, the more influence you will gain with others. And then it goes on, every man is entitled to be valued for his best moments. Which relationship is the most strained in your life right now? And what would it look like if you began focusing on that person's best moments and sought to affirm them? And then it talks about if you aim to influence him to change, repeatedly point out his rap sheet will do little good. But if you affirm the things that you think are awesome about that person, that's when you actually influence them to be more of what is awesome. I think that's a huge thing right there. And of course that, kind of is what this chapter is all about. Of course, and we're not talking about influencing people in a a deceptive kind of way. We're talking about interpersonal relationships and making them better. And when we can focus on those things that are awesome about other people, is that it encourages them to want to be more awesome. How crazy is that? Because I mean, just the fact that we all we all have this desire to be recognized and to be appreciated, and when we can do that for other people, and particularly in this digital world. And I think one of the key things it says here at the end of the chapter is that because of the fact that we have such a huge open board for expressing the things that we have to say, and if we have a lot of followers, and if we know that there's going to be a lot of people that see what it is that we post online, is that it only makes sense to be a positive influence by sharing what's good about other people. And because there's so much of that negative crap that's out there. So many people are doing the exact opposite, and when you can be that ray of sunshine, and you can be the one who sees the good and leaves the sparkles of happiness behind you everywhere you go, then people are going to be naturally attracted to that. And that's what we're talking about as far as influence goes. And so, and when you can, particularly with us in the home business industry, because so many people out there are still brand new, or they've struggled, or they've been beat up by other people in the industry, and when you can be the person who actually reaches out, and says, hey, you are doing awesome. I love what you're doing. I see what you're doing. It's just that recognition just makes people feel awesome. It's like not too long ago, it's like actually it was a year or so ago, I had a leader in our company that reached out to me and said, hey, you're doing great, can I interview you? And it was like, wow, I guess I am doing great. It just made me feel good. It made me realize that what I was doing was working, and that I can do more. And I think that's a thing right there, is that when somebody says, hey, you're doing great, you realize you're not even doing 100%. You can do more, right? So, I don't know. That's my thought. Oh, Rose has got something she said on the board. Let me get over here. Rose says, I also had mixed feelings about that too and confused. Yeah, I think a lot of folks were confused about that, Rose, and like we were kind of saying, I think that we just need to focus on the things that we think that are awesome about those people and ignore the rest and not worry about it, and that's the best that we can do. So, anybody else have something else you want to add before we wrap up for today?
Yeah, I did want to say something. Now I'm sort of forgetting. I guess when I was reading the chapter, I was really surprised at how, in the list of things that people most want, how much we crave appreciation and being important. He put it on a list with our health, our food, sleep, money, life in the hereafter, sexual gratification, the well-being of our children, and then a feeling of importance. So I was like, wow, that really is, when I looked at, me, myself, and the actions that I take, where that feeling of needing to feel important is a huge thing. It's a huge craving. And looking at other people, like how he said in the book, he could read somebody's character on the way that they express their need to feel important. Like, in what way are they doing that? And so I think this chapter is just instilling that in me, that when I go forward in interactions, to remember that whoever I'm talking to or interacting with, that they also have this craving for appreciation and importance, and how can I fulfill that in my own way in each interaction, whether it's in person or online or just walking down the street. Just remembering that everybody has that craving, and how can I help them fulfill that in the moment, in the way that I can. So it just, just seeing it on that list in the top 8 of things that people want, just really opened my eyes and to how I can, carry that going forward in my interactions. So I love that part.
Yeah, I wanted to also talk about, I don't have the new copy of the book. I actually have the older copy. But one of the things it talked about in here is a man named Charles Schwab, who at one time worked for Andrew Carnegie, and Carnegie was paying him over $1 million a year back in the early 1900s, back when $1 million was worth $1 million. And one of the things that he said was that what actually made him worth that much money to Carnegie was his ability to work with people, and the ability that he had to influence people to do the things that he wanted them to do. And the very first thing that right out of the gate in this chapter that see if I can find it here real quick, that Carnegie wrote is, there's only one way under high heaven to get anybody to do anything, and that is by making the other person want to do it. And so Schwab had the ability to influence people to get them what he wanted to do, but he had the ability to do that in actually making the other person do it because they wanted to do it, not because he was twisting their arm or holding over their head that they might lose their job. So Charles Schwab said that was the biggest ability that he had the ability to work with people and to influence them to do the things that he wanted to do, but in the process of doing that, they actually wanted to do that for him. So that ability to work with people and to influence them is the highest paid ability that there is on the planet, and that impresses me. So anyway, I'll turn it over. Closing thoughts for somebody else.
Yeah, that is so true, Dan. I didn't realize how well being a great public speaker can pay until I really started getting into this personal development stuff again, and we use it in every facet of our life, and how important is that to just get through our day. I wanted to say, as we go out and we create this trail of sparks of happiness through the day, it may not always turn out the way we want. So, but don't get discouraged. Let's, it's more of a marathon than a sprint. So just go out there and smile and laugh at yourself and step out there a little bit and engage others. It's going to be so worthwhile, and use these tips and strategies, because they've made a big difference in my small world for since I've been reading them, and I encourage everyone to go out there and just have a great day and let people know that you're having a great day, and just see what reactions you get. I guarantee they'll be good. And it's so great to be on here with you guys. I just every day each of you are posting something that either makes me laugh or smile or really sometimes it blows my mind because it's just so profound. So I really appreciate what you guys do and being on here every Saturday. So thanks a lot.
I just wanted to thank you for that point, Jason. It's not always going to maybe be the way you want or whatever, because I was reminded this week I've been living in my new place in Miami for a couple of weeks, and I'm in a little complex, so I have neighbors, and when I see somebody, I'm like, hey, how are you? And sometimes they just completely, like two people I walk by who live in here, and I'm like, hey, how are you? And they just blank stare and just walk by, not even a hi. And I was taking it like, on myself, like I almost wanted to cry because I'm like, how can people not say hi back? And I'm actually crying about it now, but I guess I needed to cry about it. So just to remember that, other people are in their place and not to take it personally, just keeping that ray of sunshine. So. Thank you. I guess I needed to get that out.
Wonderful, Sandy. You are so beautiful and wonderful personality, and you have such a good heart. And I just think you're just absolutely amazing. And if they don't see it, it's because they're closed off. They have like a brick wall or something. I don't know. But okay, so we have a few more comments on the page. Okay, it says. Marlene says, you helped us by standing in your leadership, Sandy and Samantha, during this week. Oh, thanks, Marlene. She says, I believe leadership with affirming the good is awesome. Yes, it is. I agree. Oops, I'm hitting the wrong button. Gotta go up instead of down. Okay. Rose was asking about the book, but you found it already. Okay, good. All right, guys. Yep, I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up for today. And hugs. Rose sends you hugs, Sandy. Okay, so I wanted to just say one more thing that was in here before we wrap it up. Where was it? I just had it. Okay, well, I guess I lost it. Either way, you guys got the point. Just look for the good in other people because, obviously that's what we all crave. We all crave that desire to be recognized and appreciated, and when you can do that for other people, that sets you apart. It just makes you appear to be somebody that they want to have something to do with, and of course, when we can do that on the digital landscape, not only do we influence people to like us more, but we influence people to be a better version of themselves, which is ultimately what we all want, right? So, okay, so we'll just wrap this up for today. Thank you, everybody, for hanging out with us. It's been an awesome, amazing Saturday Morning Mastermind. And, if you're not already a member of our Google Plus community, go ahead and jump over to mindsetmasterycollective.com. And there'll be a link over just in the description section of this event page. And then also, if you don't already have the book, it's How to Win Friends and Influence People in the Digital Age by Dale Carnegie. There is a link that you can purchase it for like $4.50 or something like that. And let's see, what else did I want to say? I lost my train of thought. I just hate it when that happens. Anyway, have a great, awesome, amazing, and wonderful weekend, and we'll see you again here next week on the Saturday Morning Mastermind, again at SaturdayMorningMastermind.com. And with that, bye for now.
Have a blessed day.